Head-to-head in fight on everything from calling an election during a pandemic to how
to sufficiently test wealthy Canadians to how to deal with climate change.
Rotating sets of attacks, different type, over and over. You're a bunch of child molesters is what you are.
You will need to show proof of vaccination. The MLSE making that announcement
what
today.
What is extorting you to do this for?
Indoors or out will fall under that requirement. The only exception, those who are too young to get vaxxed or those
so over the last 45 minutes, again, this is the third and fourth or fourth and fifth time tonight
appointments nearly doubling.
Just silence when we have something important to bring you.
From the goal of
and now we've got the sports.
85% of eligible
Afghanistan and gun control and sports, and Afghanistan and gun control and sports. This is what we're dealing with. What I hear the last 45 minutes, you have to check every show we listen to for the podcast. What am I supposed to do with this? I get 6 minutes online, an hour and a half of being harassed on my own internet. My own internet keeps being turned off. I've done the same thing to my phone line before. You think it's humorous? I pay for that, which means you're interfering in literal military.
It would finish, so the journey continues to qualify for the World Cup for Canada in tennis. Up and down day for Canadian tennis when you have.
Coincidence. Sports. Again, every single station will be on sports.
How do I sound?
Like an asshole.
Here goes the fourth.
Yeah, you sound.
Do I sound drunk?
Oh, yes.
I'm not slurring my words.
Yes, you are. You're smacking your lips and scraping your wet tongue across the roof of your mouth for some reason. It's disgusting. Use a bad example. You're not supposed to use an example. The idea was to show you that just because someone's over the limit doesn't mean they're going to seem over the limit. He seems over the limit. Because I've met 1,000 of these fucking assholes that I don't want to deal with, hanging around in my neighborhood after the bars close. Fuck off. I don't want to talk to you. So they're talking about using blood thinners to treat people that are in hospital with COVID. They're saying that they're relying on, they're saying the same things I said before, but that I keep repeating what I'm hearing because we keep getting, it's government of Canada type people at this point. They don't want it. They don't want any particular issue that they think is that Justin fucking Timberlake looks weak on coming into the election to be rebroadcast at all. Okay, then who's at the ISP flipping the internet switch on and off but leaving the broadband connected? Who's flashing my fucking router over and over? Right. Okay, so only certain fucking entities will be able to do shit like that on a what they call it 0 day. Right. I'm supposed to be too stupid to know this shit. We invented this shit. Amtrak is looking at running a Detroit to Chicago run with Toronto, Detroit, Chicago run, even to the point of looking at what food can be served on the train on each side of the ball, all sorts of weird shit.
Keep it low, sit low, nigga. I run the dot. Even when I'm OT, my nigga. I run the dot. Nothing gon' change, little nigga. When I'm under lock. Tell every rapper in this motherfucking city that I run the dot. I run this bitch that track and field. Race strikes like you're not the only one black and still. Power couple stand on top of the hill like Jack and Jill. Little niggas too young for big max like Happy Meals. Who the best there? Shackle and blood like we don't tax there. In the cut, niggas go up. It's like a check staring. Niggas said boy won't die, but couldn't get near him. Silence ain't got no sound like a vet hearing. I said before I'm a killer. If I drop a POC, those rain like yellow. We was in the East Detention Project Bounce, that's after count. When I used to yourself in with an ounce. If you from the friend that never would be announced back in 04 when Galloway ran the house, I was spectate. Nigga that said he was playing checkmate. Bleeding out of range, we used to give you niggas headspace. Run quite over to get you out on the next day. Blood on my hand, yo bitch, that's how I get laid. Fucking with your shorty, get my breach like He-Man. Like Thomas and Shane can't do it, like yes we can. Keep it 6, nigga, we keep 6. We can handle this like men or get him some G shit. You set tripping niggas, switching colors like beasties. The money that we putting on you, money you read with, you'll see shit. What they think once, all I see it's a snake ones. The cats I put work in their pocket and got no cake from. If I'm busting big and no 6 plus, I met one. And if that shit don't come easy, nigga, I'll take some. Nigga, I run the dot. Even when I'm on team, my nigga, I run the dot.
It turned out especially that so much quite quick. I mean, the other thing I'd add, and I think the piece just that you just played hints at this, but with certain sectors of the economy like hospitality, they've been locked down, reopened, and so many of those workers understandably are saying, you know what, this doesn't work for me anymore. I gotta find something that's more stable. And it's not because they didn't like the industry. It's not because they didn't enjoy their job or the tips or the other benefits associated with it.
This is Young Lava. We love hip hop.
It's Brooks Bangetti.
Welcome to Big Law Matters, a podcast about the...
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
My name is Mike Tyson. I'm from Brooklyn, New York. I'm representing Brownsville.
Yeah, the intro on this one's way too long. Why?
Fucks it up. We interrupt this message to bring y'all a dope rhyme by Malafred Troll. Kick it.
Here we go, is what I say. Check run, okay. How we gonna say? Quick to learn and what to obey. How to feel great when you're feeling blue. What you gonna do when your day is through? We put a beat, things to get. And you always have to get
On the 20th of September. So when you hear and digest the promises that are being made, and I'm not necessarily looking for you to pick on a specific political party here, but the conversations
it wasn't this guy, it was a
hearing,
different guy. This is, I think, rebroadcast from the week, so I don't even fucking...
be part of that debate, as I think after this weekend and the Labor Day holiday, most Canadians will really start paying attention,
about this shit.
Especially your members who are saying, you know what, we're going to need some assistance now, but into the months and maybe years into the future, and we're going to need some investment.
So I have to tell you I have sickle cell, which also means you know I'm black, in order to get into these places.
Some of the gulfs that have,
and then if I go to the hospital, they go, he's got sickle cell. He probably won't survive, so he doesn't get the ICU bed. That's what happened.
Yeah, no, look, there's a lot that needs to happen. And I will say I have been somewhat encouraged. Most of the party platforms
malaria, bacteria,
have
or
acknowledged that COVID hasn't gone away and that some of the economic supports that are in place today need to continue.
I don't give a fuck about any of this. I give a fuck about the previous 45 minutes. Just non-stop bad data. So why are you trying to reprogram my router? You know that you can't. Every time you try, it resets itself. Every fucking time you try.
The Tory platform has a new loan program, of which a large chunk is forgivable. The NDP has said that they would continue the wage and the rent subsidy until such time as the pandemic is behind us. So
the commercial rent assistance program, Justin Trudeau's emergency Canadian crash.
That's really good news. And I have to say, the federal government has already started winding down some of the COVID supports, and that's why we were so worried that the election might make that
some
even
of us
worse.
were barred from even trying to apply without being told we couldn't. Just again, every time I tried to access my files,
right now there are active
it's broken today.
To raise a huge number of taxes.
It's broken for black people.
And Canadian small businesses.
If that's not the issue, how come when you find this out is when you start treating me different?
Need to be continued. The shortage of labor needs to be addressed. The regulatory
South Africa's not a country. Really?
Is getting worse.
It's a region. This is what the province told me on the phone.
Pretty tall order for any government.
Big Mac don't exist. Wigwams don't exist. Invented by Hollywood.
Kelly, we'll let you get a
people were
good night's
invented by
sleep.
Hollywood.
You've got one more day.
I'm a
You've got
movie
the
star.
long weekend, and then get back at it, my friend.
We're going to turn it all around on you.
We need leaders, and you are a sector leader. And I know we've known each other for a whole lot of years, but we're all in our primes of our careers.
This is a district foreman,
and you've got to be heard, and the leaders have to step up and lead, and that's what you're doing on behalf of this organization.
So I've been at this since like 4 o'clock or so. It's
Dan
11
Kelly
o'clock.
Is president and CEO
We've got maybe
of
an hour of
Federation
video
of Independent Business. Joining us this evening from
We've
his
got about
home
60
in
to 100.
Toronto.
I
He's a
don't even
Winnipeg
know.
boy. I've known the man
Dead
for
videos
years.
today.
He's conscientious.
This is
He's
what
gone
you
through,
accomplished.
Like so many
Nothing.
families, a lot during COVID times.
So anybody that does see this is going to go, why are they blocking, what did he say to look up?
Well, it's something that we've all had to endure, haven't we? Speaking of the election,
and this
and the
is political parties.
campaign,
Anything that
we're
looks,
going to drill down.
anything that
and
Justin
make the
Trudeau
case.
does
Our
not
next
look
guest is
solid
gonna
on,
make the
as soon as it
case
comes up as a
for a
subject,
universal
our internet gets
dental
bombarded.
care program. A little bit later, we're going to talk to the bride and the groom and why COVID is.
Yeah, now we got like 8 minutes to. I just finished half the joint. Yeah, it's just non-stop. So sometimes it's every time I light my joint. The one night I pissed him off, I think I picked it up like 18 fucking times, pretending I was gonna light it and didn't. Pretending. So it looked like I might have been. You're the most pathetic people in the world. And you're not hackers. You're using off-the-shelf shit that you found that you don't know who wrote it. You don't know what's in there. Well, there's backdoors and malware on your shit. The shit you're using to attack other people's internet connections has malware in it. Surprise, surprise, surprise. Why wouldn't it? Like, how fucking stupid would you have to be not to think of that? Oh, you're not hackers. You gotta be fucking kidding me. Man, you've got to be fucking kidding. Fuck's sake. Yeah, every piece of electronics I have has damage to it this week that it didn't have before at all. That's coincidental.
To a restaurant, enjoying football.
They call it the death of 1,000 cuts. I'm 2 minutes too late to pull up the fucking business thing. Why? Because the button is smashed up on my fucking radio somehow. My TV's got everything's got damage to it. It didn't have last week. You guys are so incredibly subtle, eh? Did you get mad when you realized I wasn't joking? I don't write down notes and things that you could look through and find anything useful. I know you've been stealing little fuckers. It's never anything important. All these stupid little things laying around where like you take something to see if I notice. Not one bit of it was important, and I noticed every single one of them. I don't care. I'm supposed to go, oh, they're watching all the time. I don't care. I think you're pathetic for trying, like, this is like a game. You gotta get inside their head and do this and do that. You're fucking retarded.
Debt.ca to schedule a free initial consultation with one of our licensed insolvency trustees. In Brampton, 16 degrees with a few clouds. Richmond Hill, 14, partly cloudy. And Hamilton, 15, clear skies. 680 news time, 11 o'clock.
Toronto's #1 for breaking news, traffic, and weather. This is 680 News. It's Thursday, September 2nd. Good evening. I'm Scott Burnett.
And I'm Christy Ritchie. Here's what's making news.
I'm Richie, Christine. I've been waiting an hour to say that.
Vaccines, two-tiered healthcare, childcare, and racism. Federal party leaders throwing a lot of political jabs.
Racism, Afghanistan, gun control. Racism, Afghanistan, gun control. Racism, Afghanistan, gun control.
If you want to go to any Toronto Raptors or Maple Leafs games this upcoming season, you'll have to be fully vaccinated. A negative COVID-19 test will not be your ticket.
Yeah, they're not going to test.
Ontario's vaccine appointment bookings more than double as officials
hear the soundbite as to why.
To their passport announcement.
The remains of 57-year-old Nathaniel Britell have been found at a landfill site near London, Ontario.
Can you tell us about like the 8 shootings that have happened that you report as they come up and then go silent on? Why is there complete silence on that?
Qualifying and an up-and-down day for Canadian tennis. Sports at 15.
New highs again for the main stock benchmarks ahead of a big economic number coming out of the U.S. tomorrow. Plus, CIBC striking a deal with Costco, taking that stock higher. Business at 26.
680 News Time, 11:01.
Traffic and weather together on the ones at the traffic center. Jeff.
Hugh Bingley explains with another system already in place a province away, there are questions over why Ontario doesn't just use
It's not a province away, it's the next province. It's a separate nation with its own version of a charter.
To adopt Quebec's app.
They're allowed to edit the charter according to Trudeau.
In Quebec, are there a few hiccups? Yes, absolutely. But we all know that there will be hiccups in October when ORS come out.
We have similar technology for student documentation. Martin Basiri's Kitchener-based software company created a proof of concept program and presented it to the Ontario government. One he says is safe, secure, and could be in service as soon as it's needed. If they ended up using it good, we are a mission-oriented company and our goal is to help people. If they don't use it, it's all good. What matters is our society to go through this difficult phase together.
Basiri says he's been in contact with the government, but it's too early to say whether they'll work together. A spokesperson for the minister in charge of Ontario's development says Quebec's app was purpose-built for that province and Ontario would need to customize it to fit Ontario's needs. Matthew Bingley, Global News.
Another day, another set of stiffer COVID-19 measures for another health authority in BC to try and curb rising cases of the virus. Global's Janet Brown reports.
This time it is the Northern Health Region getting similar health restrictions as the Interior Health Authority, limits placed on inside gatherings and outdoor events. Provincial Health Officer Dr. Bonnie Henry says it is all because of surging COVID-19 cases, mainly among the unvaccinated.
No, hold on. Yeah, that's the other thing. They're counting 1 and 2 dose people as being unvaccinated. Yes, they are.
People who are unvaccinated, and it has.
Or they only have 1 dose. Or they only have 2 doses.
90% of people in hospital right now are unvaccinated, and it's putting pressure on hospitals.
This is not what the doctor said 45 minutes ago.
Billionaire Richard Branson and his Virgin Galactic spaceship are being grounded by the U.S. Federal Aviation Administration.
According to the agency, it turns out Branson's Virgin Galactic flight
the tax man doesn't want to put you in jail. He wants your money.
Flawless after all. The FAA says the spaceship deviated from its air traffic control clearance as it returned to Earth, prompting an investigation. The grounding comes as Virgin Galactic announces plans to launch 3 Italian researchers to the edge of space within a few weeks. The first paid commercial crewed mission for the company. That and any other mission will not happen until the FAA completes its investigation. Tony Marino, ABC News, Orlando.
I thought you meant like the
In
oil.
sports, Bianca Andreescu is into the 3rd round at the U.S. Open. She remains undefeated at the Grand Slam following her 2019 title.
Analyst Kareem Boulos tells me he doesn't think the debate will sway many votes.
And the undecided voters did not really get much meat to chew on.
The French and English Commission debates will be held next week. Cormac McSweeney, Parliament Hill.
11:04. Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment announcing new policies coming into play in time for basketball and hockey season. Here's 680's Michelle Morton.
You must be fully vaccinated if you want to go to any of its events inside
Our
or
internet gets cut
outside.
out again.
In
Wow.
a statement, MLSE says only
Well, it'll be
those with
some
a
new
verified
tactic
medical
this time.
exemption and those 11 years and younger, so too young for a
Yeah,
vaccine, will be
this
exempted
pinging
from
the fucking
these
router
rules.
as I'm
So this
saying,
means
talking about it.
guests
That's a
and
great
staff
way to
will
let me
have to
know
show
that I'm
proof
just
of
making
full
this up.
vaccination, and you will still have to wear a face covering. You will not be getting into any of its venues if you do not have both doses, because it will not be accepting a negative COVID-19 test as a
No, but listen to the
substitution.
reason why.
These rules will be in effect on September 22nd. In a statement, its president says they believe the mandatory vaccine policy and enhanced measures should safely see both indoor and outdoor events at full capacity in time for the start of the Maple Leafs and Raptors seasons this fall. I'm Michelle Morton.
Meantime,
the province's medical regulator is urging doctors to be mindful of handing out medical exemptions for COVID vaccines. 680's Mark Douglas tells us the Ontario College of Physicians and Surgeons says it has already received requests for baseless claims.
A message went out Wednesday from Dr. Nancy Whitmore, the registrar at the College of Physicians and Surgeons. Whitmore says they're already hearing about unfounded medical exemption requests. She reminds all doctors in Ontario there are basically only two reasons to grant a legitimate exemption:
which are
a severe allergy or anaphylactic reaction to getting a dose of COVID vaccine, and it has to be a reaction that's been confirmed by an allergist or immunologist, and a reaction that cannot be mitigated, or heart inflammation, either specifically myocarditis or
This is the fact that you have allergies that interfere with your life proves there's something up with your immune system that you shouldn't be
those
fucking with.
conditions are met and the doctor writes up an exemption, they still have to specify if it's a time-limited or permanent exemption. I'm Mark Douglas. It's only been a few days since the province announced its
You're trying to force
passport
doctors
plan.
to do
Officials are
legal work.
already seeing quite the
That's
response.
speculation. Is it permanent? It could be.
Right away, the number of
Is it or is
vaccine
it not
appointments
permanent?
booked in
Otherwise,
Ontario
put an
more
end
than
date.
doubled. That's according to
You
Health
can't
Minister
put
Christine
that, though.
Elliott,
You
who
can't do
added in
that,
a tweet that following the noticeable jump yesterday, thousands stepped up to get the shot today, and nearly half were getting their first dose. Humber River Hospital even said 48% of the shots it administered Wednesday were dose number one, a number well above the average.
52% were dose number two. Oh, wow.
This new rule kicks in on September 22nd.
Less than half.
But those
See how they
partially
played that
still
up.
have until September 8th to meet that requirement. As of today, just over 77% of the eligible
I
population
know, it touches
in
my
this
nose,
province
but it touches my
is
mouth,
fully
too.
vaccinated. I'm Stuart McGinn.
Meantime, small business owners are wondering how they go about enforcing the province's new vaccine protocols.
You don't. They can't force you to force. They can't force you to charge a 5-cent bag fee. They're not allowed to force
they're
that.
putting forward.
Vaccine certificates are arriving later.
That's why we don't have that fee. There is so much that TO poly tag.
And
Look that up.
concerns surrounding implementation and enforcement. Carlo Valagasa is the owner of Strengthen You Fitness and Therapy. He tells me one of his concerns surrounds the safety of his staff. Now being responsible for checking and enforcing certificates, potentially leading to altercations. He thinks the government needs to take more responsibility.
We find a way that we don't have to take on the responsibility of mandating any of these processes, because it's not a business's job to verify these things. It's not. We shouldn't be able to do that.
Julie Kwasinski,
Yeah, we
with the
should be
Canadian
able to. He's
Federation of
right.
Independent
Let me see
Businesses,
your
says
medical
other concerns for
certificate.
small
What the
businesses
fuck?
surround legal responsibility.
Are there protections for those small businesses?
You can't even ask for that as an
against
employee.
potential human rights
Employer,
challenges
like,
and costly
they
lawsuits?
Vaccine certificates go into
can't.
effect on the
You can
22nd.
refuse like a firing human rights tribunal, employment
The remains
tribunal.
of an Etobicoke man who was missing since January
I
have
wanna
been
know about all the
discovered near London,
shootings.
Ontario. Our Phil Martino takes a look.
57.
That's dental care.
So, Dr. Brennan, is anybody within the context of the 2021 campaign talking about the need for universal dental care?
I got benefits now and I can't get work done. Like, what the fuck?
So I am part of a group called
I don't
the
know how it
Coalition
doesn't
for
hurt.
Dental Care.
My
We're
mouth should be in
advocating
pain
for
and it's
universal dental care in this election. And really, if we're looking at universal dental care, technically no party is advocating for that in this election. But the federal NDP is
Who needs
proposing a
teeth?
dental care plan where they would provide dental
Wouldn't provide
insurance
company
to
benefits,
families
dental
that
care that
are
covers resin
uninsured
fillings,
and making less
not
than $90,000 per
the
year.
fucking mercury
Now, I've
ones.
done some work
And
with
potentially even
the
implants.
NDP
Benefits that covers
in
laser eye
Vancouver,
surgery.
and Jack Layton and
Get one eye done at a time with
Newfoundland,
PRK, LASIK MD
in my
downtown.
work with
I
them,
got cardio
they
somewhere.
see this dental care plan as kind of a first step towards bringing dental care fully under Canada's universal health care system. The plan that they're proposing would provide dental insurance to about 7 million Canadians, and it would do this for only about $1 to $1.5 billion a year. And to put that in perspective, that's a fraction of 1% of an increase in healthcare spending in Canada. We could provide dental insurance to over 7 million people.
And I get that, but how about those that are saying, well, we have a national universal pharmacare program that has been attempted over the years, that we have other healthcare priorities. Why should we invest in dental care? And I think you have to make the case.
Because the treatment for the pain is opiates.
There's going to be a whole
That's what they do. They give you codeine at the ER before they'll
side,
give you a dental filling or
we're able
whatever.
to actually save tax dollars.
Yes.
Or get a tooth pulled even.
That's a very important point to stress as well, because if we look at even not having dental care within our universal health care system, that costs our Medicare system currently. So if we look at people who can't afford to go to the dentist now, many of them end up at their doctor's offices and emergency rooms. So this is estimated to cost about $150 million per year for people seeking care there, yet they only get Band-Aid solutions like pain medication and an antibiotic and are still left needing to go see a dentist.
And remember, that's abuse of antibiotics.
Also, there's plethora of research showing the link between poor oral health and overall health. So
an infection that you didn't even have to get is being treated with antibiotics, which is a potential for it to breed drug-resistant bacteria.
Like cardiovascular disease, diabetes, having a low birth weight infant, aspiration pneumonia, osteoporosis, stroke. I'm sure there's many other.
Sickle cell anemia.
Those are the ones coming off the top of my head.
This doesn't bother me as much on the back. Like some of them do.
If we were to provide dental care to the entire population, not just the people who can afford it, we would raise the floor in society and people would have better oral health. And we would also see the knock-on effects to people having better overall health as well.
You know how much dental pain will fuck your life up?
Of having poor oral health. If you have missing front teeth or visible decay, it's going to be difficult for you to interview for a job, which is going to mean you're going to be more likely to rely on.
Well, you shouldn't be judging people like that.
Absolutely, we get that. But doctor, why universal? Because I can make the case that those who can't afford it somehow should be covered by various programs. But if I have a good insurance program, I can draw on that to get my teeth cleaned, to go for checkups, to get my cavities filled, and my employer will pay through its insurance company a certain amount, and then the rest I'll pay out of pocket, and I have no problem doing that. But to me, for those that can't afford it, they should be covered first. Why ultimately are you saying this needs to be universal as opposed to targeted for those that just aren't going to the dentist?
So reflective. It gathers every
ultimately, in my mind, the way we build a healthcare system that is sustainable, and when I mean sustainable, I mean it can reliably get the funding it needs to help the people that need help the most.
You know what I need? A loan to get dental
Because
implants.
everyone has skin in the game. Everyone relies on these programs, and there's a sense of unity within society. So when
it would be good for the dentists too, because the bills will be paid.
Well, there's a sense that a universal program can be beneficial to dentists in the sense that they can provide their patients with what they need rather than what they can pay for. But also it can change the fee guides associated with a universal program as well. So should a filling cost $250? Well, I mean, if we're providing dentists with more people to treat, I think there's a reasonable discussion to be had that maybe it doesn't have to cost $250. So
for some reason, I paid for two of them. The upgrade from amalgam to tree resin was $30.
Now, these are dental providers kind of in a similar relationship to physicians and nurse practitioners. And what we see in dentistry, though, is that a lot of dental care is routine care, like fillings, cleaning, simple extractions. And what these dental therapists can do, and they can basically do a lot of those routine procedures at a fraction of the cost of a dentist.
No. I need a dental surgeon. Thank you.
Work in a very cost-efficient
I have
manner,
a very
as well
specific,
as
crazy type of blood disorder.
To focus on more complex procedures that only they have the training for. So doing root canals, maybe crown and bridge work, and that's something that. Because we have that
repair work, they're going to go. Let's put Bondo on it. Why would you do that? Do the implant. You should take pride in having Canada having top-notch teeth in the world.
Very high-level dental care to the entire population, and that dental therapy model that I was talking about as well is actually something that when I was talking about the Saskatchewan Children's Dental Plan, they used dental therapists, and it was widely successful because of the cost-effective nature of dental therapy.
The government just went, nope, we're not doing that, right?
And well, I do not want to be accused of being an anti-dentite. And again, that's a Seinfeld reference. Brandon Doucette, it's an interesting conversation. I thank you so very much for joining us this evening. Much appreciated. And I'll be looking forward to seeing if any of the politicians touch this one. But certainly you and your colleagues have put this on the national agenda. Dr. Brandon Doucette, a dentist practicing in Newfoundland, joining us this Thursday evening. Please stay with us.
Fuck, I should have rolled the joint while we were listening. Damn it.
Ever thought of yourself as a disruptor? A member of a movement. Buying physical gold and silver is exactly that. It's like taking control of your financial destiny. Physical versus paper. Real physical gold and silver takes the threat of stock market paper corruption out of the picture. Savvy.
Où je pourrais apporter un point de vue un peu plus. Some people bully with my hair in the bun. My honey bun shine told me fin up from year one. One-on-one Riddle Street fighter outside once. The only fair one, but never was no figure once. I shot the fair one, then I walk off into the sun like. En COVID, donc il me semble qu'il y a plein de ficelles à tirer et que je pourrais peut-être en faire quelque chose de beau.
Est-ce que tu as accepté l'invitation? Parce qu'on se rappelle que dans ton livre, tu racontes les premiers temps que tu es arrivé, quand tu es arrivé à l'hôtel de l'aéroport, quand vous êtes arrivé du Chili, donc tu étais enfant. Vous êtes dans une chambre d'hôtel pas loin de l'aéroport et tu ne parles pas français à ce moment-là et tu découvres Passe-Partout. Et là, tu as l'impression que Marie-Équelle te parle à toi carrément dans la chambre. Qu'est-ce qu'elle t'a offert, Marie-Équelle, donc Passe-Partout, à la suite de ton message?
Tu veux dire
de garder tes enfants
maintenant? Oui, elle n'arrête pas. Elle est d'une gentillesse incommensurable. Je l'ai vue d'ailleurs, ça fait une semaine, je pense, Marie-Équelle, puis elle m'a rempli d'énergie comme chaque fois que je la vois. Cette femme est devenue une amie, et sincèrement, c'est toi qui as instillé ça au départ avec notre rencontre téléphonique, mais cette femme est devenue une amie précieuse que je porte dans mon cœur, sincèrement. Elle m'a écrit d'ailleurs hier ou avant-hier, je ne sais pas trop, puis j'ai pas encore répondu, et là je me sens mal.
Mais elle t'entend, là, c'est l'écoute, elle t'entend, là. Donc c'est une partie de la réponse à son message. Alors Caroline, dimanche, il y a une marche qui est organisée pour toi et pour la recherche aussi, parce que c'est une façon d'amasser des dons, donc ça s'appelle une promenade pour Caro. Donc c'est samedi le 11 septembre, en fait, donc pas ce samedi, mais l'autre à 9h30. Et toi, tu seras où pour le départ de cette marche?
Probablement à l'angle. La marche commence au parc de la Bolduc, qui est à l'angle de.
Advantage of 40% off lenses for you and free lenses for them. Visit pearlvision.ca to arrange your family's exams. Valid prescription required. Valid at participating locations. Restrictions apply. Taxes extra. See store for details. Ends October 31st, 2021. Exams available at the Independent Doctors of Optometry app or next to Pearl Vision.
Students and parents in some communities, including the GTHA, may be affected by a possible school bus shortage due to a large turnover of drivers. Melissa Nicoli from City News speaks for the bus driver advocate about this issue.
The cities like Ottawa, Peterborough, parts of northern Ontario, and communities in the GTHA could experience delays and cancellations. According
I'll be
to
taking
School
pictures
Bus
of you when you
Ontario,
go past my stop
nonprofit
sign. I'm gonna take a
organization
video of you. I ain't gonna call the cops. I'm gonna put it on TikTok.
The organization says bus operators are not fairly compensated considering the amount of responsibilities drivers take on. They say the busing contract bid system is to blame. It awards contracts to operators at the lowest bids.
We need to be competitive to attract a good, high-quality type of driver to the profession. And right now, we're not competitive
do a reverse
anymore.
auction.
School Bus Ontario says this suppresses driver pay, resulting in high turnover rates and the need to consistently attract
the only thing.
drivers.
You
In terms of
but
whether
you get
Toronto
older
could see a
drivers.
shortage. In a statement, Toronto Student Transportation
You
Group
don't
says we are in
face
better
reality.
shape than in previous years.
Those
but the
are people that need
introduction of
benefits
the
and shit,
mandatory
right?
vaccination disclosure policy will have an impact. Listen to Kabali City News.
Coming up in 60 seconds, a check on your drive in and around town and your extended long weekend forecast.
680 News Time, 11:20. Kids across Ontario
What
are
about like a
returning to the
reincarnated
classroom
Vietnam
and the
vet?
things they've missed, like
Like a
field
reincarnated
trips, gym
one, like-
class, and extracurricular activities. To keep students and staff as safe as possible, safety measures developed with the Chief Medical Officer of Health include mandatory self-screening, improved air quality with filtration, and increased cleaning of surfaces. Learn more about school safety improvements at ontario.ca/keeping schools safe. Paid for by the Government of Ontario. As a business owner, you can finally look to the future. BMO Business Banking wants to help you check all the boxes with great products and solutions. No monthly fee banking? Check. Quick loan application?
Killed tens of thousands of jobs. Entire families lost their livelihoods almost overnight. 30 years later, hundreds of thousands of oil and gas workers wonder if they'll be next.
There's no doubt anymore that we are transitioning away from fossil fuels and that transition is moving faster than we expected. And just kind of burying our heads in the sand isn't helping workers.
So they were told in the 70s they knew they would have to get to a gas retail price of gasoline of $1 a liter plus before it would be economical to extract the oil from the tar sands. Did that happen in the late 90s when they started putting 4 digits on the price signs?
Pain can be minimized.
They also knew that they would only get 20 years of extraction out of the tar sands. They knew that. It's been 22 years. It crashed 2 years ago, didn't it?
Gradually. And almost all of the adjustment can be taken up through early retirement and other voluntary transitions.
It's being
How far
called
off am I on the
just
details? I'm a little bit
transition,
off, I know, but
ensuring workers aren't left high and dry as Canada and the world moves away from fossil fuels.
We have to make a living, and where we come from in northern Alberta, it's oil and gas.
Janine Campbell-Cove is from the
like
Saulteaux First
98%
Nation
of the population moved there from Ontario
in northern
when
Alberta
you
for
started
close to 2 decades.
selling
I know
oil.
a lot of people were like, what do you do?
Sand,
What are we
oil,
doing?
tar
here? What
sands.
can we do? And like the answer was always the same. We can't do anything.
For Indigenous workers like Campbell Cove,
Meanwhile, in
transitioning
Toronto-
out of oil and gas can mean having to move away from their First Nations communities. Last year,
You
an
have to move away
injury
when they pollute
left
the
her no other choice.
I have been working in the industry for about 12, 13 years, pretty much straight out of high school.
Stephen Bueller wants out of oil and gas. It's why he volunteers with Iron and Earth, a collective of oil and gas workers calling on government to help people like him find new career paths.
Maybe geothermal projects or helping support wind and the solar industry as well.
Not everyone is eager to leave. Iggy Domagowski is the CEO of Tundra Process Solutions. While he believes his company will continue to serve the oil and gas industry for the rest of his career, he sees things are changing too.
We'll always continue to focus on oil and gas, but a lot of the capital projects like building these large oil sands facilities, those aren't really happening anymore. So naturally, over time, our business has diversified and will continue to diversify.
Because across this sector, no one can afford to be left behind. Heather Urix West, Global News, Calgary.
And I can understand that when you listen to this in Alberta, and you've got people, and you've got somebody who's broadcasting from Winnipeg, where hydroelectricity is big. And
I know, I should have touched my ear. I know, but I'm at home.
The prediction that your job is going to be history at some point, maybe sooner rather than later. That would just infuriate me. So I get that. But, and this is where sometimes I really have a problem with politicians that talk about, climate change and transitioning away from the fossil fuel economy and making it sound so simple. Because on the one hand, they're telling you this. On the other hand, you're looking at your take-home pay and the amount of money that you send to governments for services, yes, for that universal health care, not dental care and everything else. And you think that, I'm just trying to pay the bills. I'm just trying to get through COVID. And I am being peppered with reports saying that, my job, my way of life, my opportunity to make a good living is going to be phased out. And I think in this campaign, the politicians have to drill down, if you will, as to how this economy over the next decade, 25 years, is going to transition away from fossil fuels and zero in on that job and what becomes of that job. And I don't know about you, but I haven't.
I hear music coming. So let's see here. Step 2, the remaining materials and process in anaerobic digest, means no oxygen, digesters over a couple of weeks. That's very plain language. Thank you. In the digesters, microorganisms, there's no dash there. Those are zeros. Those aren't even O's. Those are zeros. Microorganisms break down the material in the absence of oxygen. Well, they should, because they're anaerobic. This produces digester solids and biogas. Some of that is dog crap. Step 3, the digester solids are mixed with yard waste to make high-quality compost, which is because the yard waste is collected separately, grass clippings and shit. So it's nothing but grass clippings and crap in those brown bags. To make high-quality compost, which is used in parks and gardens, biogas is now converted into renewable natural gas. I should say RNG, but it doesn't. And consumed across the city, lowering greenhouse gas emissions. To learn more, visit toronto.ca/greenbin. Turning biogas into renewable natural gas. The City of Toronto, in collaboration with Enbridge Gas Inc. By the way, I hate that name. What was wrong with Consumers Gas? Enbridge Gas. I thought it was just Enbridge. Enbridge Gas. An energy bridge to the future. That was the stupidest. Why did you change the name? Is harnessing the green energy potential of the biogas produced from processing Toronto's green bin waste by turning it into renewable natural gas, RNG. Now, for some reason, they capitalized City, Toronto, Enbridge Gas Inc., Toronto's green bin, but they did not capitalize renewable natural gas. RNG generated from food scraps is actually considered carbon negative because the reduction in emissions by not extracting and burning petroleum-based fuel and the emissions avoided by not sending organics to landfill, there's a lot of methane being released, even with organic shit, exceed the direct emissions associated with the production and use of RNG. Green power, the production of renewable natural gas, RNG. Why aren't you capitalizing it? You capitalize it inside the brackets through the city's green bin program. You capitalize the city's, capital C, capital G, capital B. Green bin program has the environmental benefit. That's the colloquial. It's not the City of Toronto. The incorporation is the city. The city, We're from the city. Green. Some guys over there from the province. Go hang out with them. Green bin program is the environmental benefit of closing the carbon loop by bullet, capturing the biogas produced instead of flaring, burning it off into the atmosphere. Bullet, upgrading the biogas to RNG pipeline quality. Bullet, then using the biogas to displace a non-renewable fossil fuel with a renewable green fuel. The RNG produced from processing organics is being blended with the natural gas purchased by the city to create a low-carbon fuel blend that the city can use to power its vehicles and buildings and reduce its overall greenhouse gas emissions. Learn more at toronto.ca/RNG. There's no apostrophes on these is. toronto.ca/RNG. toronto.ca/RNG. Where's this go again? So September. All about, I don't want to hear